Good morning. So this week we are on something different. We're in a bit of no man's land because we are between house build and on the farm. And what we're looking for this week is a bit of green-fingered advice or help to show us some of the stuff that I want to get on with before everything starts sort of coming to life in spring. So let's go and have a look. So going back to the beginning of 2017 roughly, before we did the tarmacking and all the stone sets up either side of the farm and the house drive, what we did is we planted a ruck of trees. So we did avenue trees down both drives, both different varieties. We did a ruck of planting up in the corner, which there was a tiny bit required for part and parcel of the planning and what we were doing with the whole site. And then the rest of it, basically, I just wanted a bigger area of all planted up different sorts of trees. We've also put a little orchard in for fruit, although we've never had any fruit from it as yet. I was told after the first year we would get a crop from it, but we haven't. So this is why we're after a bit of advice, because the avenue trees that we've put in, so if we go farm drive first, the farm drive, what we've done is we've planted oak trees down here either side, so they go all the way through to the gate and up to the biosecure gate at the farmyard. Now I wanted oak avenue trees there, which I knew were going to take a lot longer to grow up to something substantial than what we put on the house drive, but ultimately oak is one of my favourite sorts of trees, hence one of the reasons why the place is called Little Acorns. What I don't understand, and where my green-fingered knowledge sort of comes to a stop, is as everything starts to come to life, like this one here, why has it got all of last year's leaves on and this one hasn't? And everything is sort of growing out. And ultimately, with them being avenue trees, there is an element of shape that we want to them. The oak being a different shape than what we want on the house drive. So for me now, Papa G has just done first cut. He's just gone over and took the top off because it's still a bit wet of the grass up either side of the drives. But now he's complaining that he can't get his mower around without basically getting scratched from all the branches. But I don't know where to cut them back to. And Papa G's green-fingered knowledge, although he's very, very good for what we've got going on up round the top, when it comes to pruning the trees into a shape, I don't know whether that's something he's really overly interested in doing. So again, I'm looking for some advice on how to prune, how to sort of shape these trees, and how to ultimately make sure that we're not knocking them back. I don't want to knock them back. Every year we have put horse muck round the bottom because I've been told that that is the best to put round the trees to give them all the nutrients that they need to get going. But how do we do that? Okay, so then onto the house drive, we have put a completely different variety here because these are faster growing trees. So these trees along this drive here are hornbeam. Now, you can do a lot more with these in terms of shape. I've seen all sorts of different shapes and sizes on pictures. But ultimately what we're looking for is more of an avenue, sort of taller, narrower tree. But these are all growing right from the very bottom. But we want an element of the tree that hasn't got that. So when we're looking at this here, all of this stuff that's at the bottom, I don't know whether I'm supposed to be leaving or whether I'm supposed to be cutting that off so that you've got an element of trunk before it buds out into a tree. I really don't know what we're supposed to be doing, but obviously now all the buds are starting to come through, and I don't know whether this is even the right time of year now. All I know is that planting trees is sort of in the darker months of the winter, you know, from November through to maybe March time. So, I don't know, looking for some advice. In fact, we're going to tag in Alan Titchmarsh and Charlie Dimmock because back in the day I remember everybody quite liked Charlie, and we'll see if either of them comment on our video. Okay, so next one on the list for any green-fingered friends that we've got out there is the entrance. So the gateway is behind us, the entrance to the whole site, and the road is there. Now when we started, part and parcel of the planning was that there had to be, well, there was a section of hedgerow that was removed, which was hawthorn and blackthorn, so we removed that to put the entrance in, and we had to replant the section that we removed and bring it right round into the entrance. So we did that, but then hawthorn and blackthorn spends a good chunk of the year where you can see through it, like that bit over there. So what we wanted is we wanted something that would be a little bit more evergreen to give us that bit more privacy on site and screen everything off and screen the road off from being on the farm here. Another thing I don't really get, when we first set about it, we put hawthorn and blackthorn on the outside, so that met the planning conditions, and ultimately in springtime and in summer does look nice. On the inside, we planted then laurel. So the laurel here has really romped away and done really well, but round the lower part over there has not done so well at all. Now the first year, everything along the road front died, but I think that was because the water was running off the site, and when everything was planted, it was almost like you could pull the laurel out and it was a bucket of water. So ultimately the plants drown, is what the chap who planted them all for me said. But they're still not doing overly well, certainly not in comparison to the bit that we've got here on the higher ground. So is there anything that I can do to really push them on now and get them going? Or now the hawthorn and blackthorn has sort of grown above, are they taking everything away from the laurel, which is retarding the growth? I don't know. But ultimately we do want that laurel to come all the way round and up the side, which will screen everything off. The other side's actually worse, but this is the side that sort of we wanted from a visual from up on the house or around the farmyard area where you mainly see down to the road. If we go on the outside looking in now, this is exactly what I'm talking about. We've got the hawthorn here and the blackthorn, which is again romped away. The laurel massively started off taller, quicker, growing faster, and then the hawthorn and blackthorn have took over. So now they are competing against each other. But if you start looking around here, you can see where as the ground comes lower and it gets wetter, looking down there now, nothing has really done very good at all. So what do I need to do to get that? Is it just a case of we leave it now, or does the hawthorn need laying yet or not? Do we need to plant more laurel? I'm not sure. So that's what we're after. I want to get the entrance all finished up and nice, because in the summer this looks fantastic out here. Everything sort of mown down, nice, neat and tidy. All the ditches Papa G runs through with a strimmer as well, so everything looks neat and tidy. But then all of this just looks a bit of a mess. Okay, and the last question that I've got for our green-fingered friends out there is, how do we take cuttings from trees and start to grow them themselves? So I've seen Alan Titchmarsh or Charlie Dimmock, whoever it was as a kid, they cut something off and they put something on the bottom and they put it in a pot and away it goes and gets going. We've got quite a considerable amount more planting here that we want to do. So way back when, we also planted these western red cedar, so conifer trees, on both of the landscaping bunds surrounding the pig unit, which I said before is an American idea. The wax part of this is supposed to remove the dust particles from anything sort of blowing in the direction coming away from the pig. So in America they use it especially to sort of screen any of their intensive livestock sort of units to try and stop any form of odour. Now, although the odour isn't overly bad, I just think it can't hurt. So that's we've put it on the buns to trial that. But ultimately there is a lot more planting that I want to do on the entire farm, and we've got a ruck of stuff to do round at Western Way as well. So what I want to be able to do is I want to take cuttings and grow trees so that we've got rooks of these growing in the background, and then, I don't know, maybe next planting season that we can look to start planting outside. If it takes a year or if it takes 2 years, I don't know. But the amount that we've got to plant, or I want to plant, will cost an absolute fortune to buy. And I thought, well, if we've already got the plants here, can we do that? So my question is, can I take cuttings of this, 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 and this, all of these, and this, and finally this. Now, these are weeping willow trees, and we've got 4 or 5 of them dotted around. One over there is not doing so well, but the 2 here that are in the wetter part of the site are really, really getting on well. So these are probably the biggest trees. When we planted them, they were literally like this tall, same as everything else was. And look at the size of it now, it's already massive. Clearly these trees suit our wet clay site really, really well. So, like I say, we're putting this out there to all the green-fingered friends that we've got out there. If you could please drop a comment in the box or private message us if you are local and you can pop out and show us what to do. That would be fantastic. So if you like what you've seen, hit subscribe, ring the bell, and we will leave you with a tiny, because it's a bit cruel on Clayton to expect a green-fingered montage when there's not a lot really going on because we don't know what we're doing. So Clayton, you've got to produce a montage of nature at its best. Boom.